Hello, Internet, I'm Hugo.
And I am Jakerston.
And this is Unpopular Culture, the only show that believes in equal opportunity employment for translators, even if they only speak one language. So, today we're going to be talking about the Nintendo Switch announcement they did last night. Or not announcement, we already knew it was coming, but it was their big reveal show.
The press conference. We're doing, the whole show is this. So, just everything you need to know about the Nintendo Switch happening right now. So if you didn't want to trudge through the roughly 2 hours presentation they did, then you don't have to, because we're going to, and without cringy translators, which deserves its own conversation.
And before we get into the actual system, I think this bears talking about a little bit. Some of the translators, I feel like you could tell had the script, like they pre-translated and were just reading off, you know what I mean? So they knew what to say. But there was at least one that was so bad and was clearly doing it off the cuff.
He was like, I feel like he was making shit up. Because he was like, do you remember when Marco Rubio a couple years ago, was like drinking a lot of water during a thing? It was the same exact cringe.
Yeah, and it's so weird. And people complain about the monotone. I don't know this for a fact, but I would guess if you are a translator professionally for corporate events, I would assume you are trained to be fairly monotone so as to not add inflection to the words of the actual speaker. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you don't add unintended meaning. But the guy who did say a lot, that seems like a big no-no if you're doing translation.
Yeah, he shouldn't be a translator. Get a new job.
Even we who speak for a living off the cuff like this, we say way too much. But really, we were worse at the beginning. What you should train yourself to do is try and be comfortable with a little bit of silence between words.
Yeah.
Whatever.
People have a problem with long silences.
Right. And I don't think there's any problem with saying in the first place anyway. It's a filler word. There's a reason it exists. Yeah. But still, if you're a professional translator at a huge corporate event for one of the biggest electronic companies in the world of gaming, maybe learn to not do that. I hope that guy didn't get in a bunch of trouble, though.
But anyways, this is about the Nintendo Switch, and we've kind of panned it in the past. We talked about it a few times in other Unpop episodes, and really it's because we were worried it was just a gimmick. We're gonna talk about this. So we're going to talk about the pricing, we're going to talk about launch dates, we're going to talk about the stuff that comes in the box when you order it. There's different configurations there that you can have. We're going to talk about all the games. We're going to talk about the controllers specifically themselves. Yep. We're going to talk about, and then there's some other pricing that's going into it, like online play and some other stuff and accessories and peripherals. So we got it all. Yeah. So the first thing on our list, though, is the pricing. So the pricing of the base unit. There's no bundles or anything that they're saying right now, so there's no like game bundles. I think you have to buy games separately, but there's probably a deal involved somewhere down the line at your retailers. You can get two different boxes. One box is the all gray that you saw on the the opening presser where they did that big video, and it was a bunch of millennials playing and like smiling, and they're all good looking and successful in their lofts. It's just the gray ones. And then there's another one where it's basically the same thing except the left and the right controllers are different colors, which is pretty helpful if you have kids. The left one's like a neon green bluish, and the other one's sort of a neon pink reddish, which they look fine. I think those are attractive colors. It's not a big deal. Both of those, $300 American.
Yeah, I think in Canada it's 400. Europe it's going to vary based on the country, sure. I think. And I forget what Japan is.
In Japan it was like 24,000 yen.
Something like that. I saw that when they were doing the pricing too, and they said that, I was like, because they said Japan first, because this was mostly a press event for Japan, and they translated to English. Sure. They said like 24,000 yen, and I was like, I don't know what that means.
I assume that's not a lot.
I assume it's comparable. It may be a little cheaper because I don't know if they're manufacturing a lot of these in Japan.
No idea.
Anyway, so the pricing on the console itself,
that's reasonable.
I think it's reasonable, but here's the thing. I heard a lot of people say online and stuff about this. Some people were complaining about the price. They thought it should be a little cheaper for the hardware that's in the thing, especially considering we're a couple of years into this console generation anyway. Mm-hmm. And then I heard people say, well, the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, it's $100 cheaper than those were at launch, which is true, but I would retort to that. It's not competing against PlayStation 4 at launch and Xbox One at launch. It's competing against PlayStation 4 now and Xbox One now and PC and iPhone, iPad and honestly, I would argue with this configuration they're working with right now, with its portability, they're competing against themselves now with the 3DS, because I expected them to say at some point, this is officially, we're combining our console and portable markets into one. There's not going to be any more new DSs, but they didn't say that. So if they're going to come out with a new DS next year and the year after that, and this, they're officially competing against themselves, and they're pricing themselves out of their own market by saying, well, you can play the 3DS or you can play the Switch.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
I understand,
but the being able to put it on the dock and put it on the TV is a much bigger thing. But also, it's on the high end of where I was willing to pay. I was thinking $250 to $300. That's my threshold. If it's over, I'm not going.
Sure.
So I'm not mad about the price. I think it's fine. I mean, it is a console from Nintendo. We spent more on Super Nintendos than we did on this.
It's actually, this is interesting. This is a good point to bring up. With inflation considered, it's the 4th cheapest home console.
Right.
Ever, apparently, which is fair. I recognize that, but you also have to look at what are the competitors, what are you getting for the price. It's not just strictly a number, it's a value judgment.
If I were them, I would have gone with $280 and really made it feel like a steal.
Yeah.
It's just like $20 because they're going to buy the games anyways. And Nintendo owns all the fucking games, so it doesn't really matter.
You got to consider a huge part of the market share for Nintendo is parents going into for holidays or birthdays or whatever.
Right.
My kid wants a system. Which one am I going to get? If Nintendo differentiated themselves by being $20 cheaper than a new PlayStation or a new Xbox, they would. I know it sounds stupid. $20 per system. I know it sounds stupid, but I'm telling you, it would make a difference.
The number looks different when there's not a 3 in front of it.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway.
It's also a good thing to note that it's the portability is cool. It's 720p, which isn't HD, but let's be real, like it's Nintendo. It's gonna be cartoony shit anyways. But it's better than the fucking Wii U. For the screen that size, it's fantastic.
720p is not that bad. I mean, they make 1080 phone screens now, so but again, pricing thing, it's not that big of a deal.
It also comes with the 2 controllers because the way the Switch is set up. Those are 2, so you can kind of say, okay, well, maybe that's sort of in the price. And we'll talk about this in a little bit. But the stuff it comes with, I think there's some peripheral stuff I didn't expect it to ship with that I think, okay, I could justify the extra $20 if I was going to go 280, I can go 300. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So
the one thing, I guess we can talk about it later, but basically it doesn't have an Ethernet port at all. It's only Wi-Fi, and if you want to use an Ethernet, you have to buy an adapter that's proprietary.
Yeah, it's a very Xbox sort of
No,
thing.
Xbox had an Ethernet port.
No, I know, but Xbox always, they were always the last one on board with, doing things that people needed. Remember the Xbox 360 upgrade that you, the HD?
Oh, the HD DVD thing that they had?
Yeah. Just ship with this sort of stuff, like the Blu-ray stuff. Anyways, so you had some extra pricing for some of the other stuff, and then we'll talk about what goes in the box.
Okay, so this is what gets me. The price of the console, it's debatable whether or not it's a good price. It's
within reason.
Good.
It's within reason.
It's within reason, but you could argue whether or not for you personally it's a value.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
For us, it's not too bad. I think we have enough disposable income where it's reasonable, but I could understand if you already have a PlayStation, there's no reason you would buy this, or a PC or whatever. But this is what gets me. The peripherals and the extra controllers are outrageously priced, and I don't know what Nintendo is thinking. This is going to go over poorly. Okay, so firstly, the Joy-Cons is what they're called. Terrible name, in my opinion. The Wiimote, at least it was a pun, so people remember it. Your 50-year-old parents aren't going to be calling this shit Joy-Cons if they get one.
No,
so the little controllers,
I didn't even. I'm not calling them Joy-Cons.
Right. There's 2 of them, like Jake said, that come off at the sides. You've seen them before. A bundle that comes with just the 2 of them. Just the 2 controllers. So this is, you want a player 2 other than the games that they just separate. And you
so
can use one
basically like a pro style controller. You want a player 2 that can play with both of them at the same time.
Right. That is just for that $80. And this is the part that alone, it's like, okay.
Does that come with the pro style controller or the little thing?
No, the little
standard
things. The little things.
Okay.
I think it comes with a thing they click into, but that's just a hunk of
Well,
plastic.
how much
anyway.
is a Pro Style controller?
The Pro Style is $70. It's actually a little bit cheaper.
Okay, so that's $10 more than an Xbox One controller.
Right. So that's fairly comparable. I disagree with it a little bit, but here's what gets me about the Joy-Con.
Mad Catz is gonna make a fucking killing.
This is so goddamn stupid, it almost makes me mad. Okay, so you know how on the Wiimote you have a little strap, so if you're playing tennis or whatever, you don't break your TV?
Right.
The straps are sold separately from the Joy-Cons. $30.
Okay, so we'll just talk about the inside the box stuff right now. There are straps included in the box proper.
Right.
Like,
Correct.
There's straps included for both things, but not for your extra controller.
Yes, you have to then buy them separately. So to buy a new controller set for your friend or whatever, and the straps to make sure they don't bust up your TV, $110.
No.
A little over a third of the price of the console.
See, this is why when we had reviewed it when the trailer launched. This is why I said, this isn't the reason, but this is backing up my reasoning. The kids are gonna break this shit. So they're not gonna play it. It's gonna sit on my desk, and I'm gonna fucking play it. And frankly, this is only reinforcing my strength on this, which is weird to say about a Nintendo console.
I honestly have no idea what they're thinking with that pricing scheme. On top of all of this, they also announced that finally they're taking the plunge, and like Sony, like Microsoft, they're going to turn their online services into a paid subscription service, which I already disagree with Microsoft and Sony doing this. If you don't know, it sounds in your head. It's like, okay, you're paying like $10 a month or however much it is. I don't have online, so I don't know. I think it's like $60 a year if you just go all out at once. You think, okay, they have to run servers or whatever, so it makes sense that they need money for upkeep. No. I don't know how Microsoft does it, but Sony only runs dedicated servers for a select few games. Most games use peer-to-peer, or the company themselves that developed the game have servers for it. So what you're paying Sony for instance, is their matchmaking service that all it does is just a hub that, boom, boom, there's a PlayStation, connect them. So I already disagree with that. But now that Nintendo's getting on board, Nintendo's online services have always been shit, and they're way behind. Like, remember the Wii friend codes to connect with anyone? You needed this long-ass code. It was ridiculous. And in fairness, in the Wii U, they got rid of that, apparently, but I heard the services still weren't very good, and it was cumbersome and outdated and did not work right.
Yeah, it's so weird. And by the way, Nintendo games, I don't need to play Splatoon 2 with you.
There's Mario Kart makes sense. If they do a Smash Brothers for this, it makes sense.
If they do a Smash, they're doing a Smash. They didn't.
Well, the new one, the last one just came out like a year or two ago, so I'd get if it came a little later. But I don't know in the first 2 years, what are the games coming out that I'm going to want to pay? I'm guessing it's going to be comparable to Sony and Microsoft. I'm going to pay $10, $12 a month for, really?
Yeah, I assume so, but with the pricing of the controller, it might be $20. I'm not getting it. I don't need online stuff. Most of the stuff I like to play on Nintendo's are single player and stuff anyways.
Right. And on top of that, there's some other insult to injury stuff with that. By the way, they haven't released price points for this, but you know how Sony and Microsoft do their either games with gold or whatever, where you get like a free game every month. Nintendo said they're going to do a similar thing, but instead of giving you like a port of a Wii U game or something, they're giving you every month, they're giving you either an NES or SNES game, which I like NES or SNES, but still it's kind of like, well, that's kind of cheap considering it's a game that's been out for 25 years. And on top of that, unlike Sony and Microsoft, where you get to keep the game as long as you have your subscription, you only get to play the game that month. So Nintendo was saying, give us money so we can give you an ad for an NES game that we want you to buy for $10.
To be fair, the PlayStation model is you can download it and you can play it as long as your subscription is live.
Right. But with Nintendo, you can't even do that. It's just an ad. It's an ad they're giving you. Hey, look at this game. Isn't this fun? Buy it on the Nintendo eShop.
That's fucking stupid, and hopefully they change it. So I guess that's all the pricing. So again, $300 for the console itself, and then an outrageous amount of money for everything else after that. So the in-the-box stuff, this is what it comes with. It comes with the system. It comes with the dock, which is not the system. The dock is just the HDMI port to the TV and / charging station. Now, this was cool. You can charge it with just a regular USB charging device like you have at your desk or wherever, like the same one you use with your phone most likely unless you have an iPhone, you can play and charge at the same time, so that's nice.
By the way, the docks are, if you want to get a separate dock, like you have multiple TVs in your house, and $90 for a dock.
Just buy another system. Plus because they have local co-op wireless and stuff, so you might as well at that point. It comes with the Joy-Cons in whatever color you decided to pick. Comes with wrist straps for either. Comes with an HDMI cord, of course. And it comes with it's not a Pro style controller. This is a Pro style controller. It's the standard layout of a controller. It's got the joysticks and the buttons and the shoulder buttons and all that stuff. While it doesn't have this, it has basically the handles, and then in the middle is a slide, and you pop the Joy-Cons on either side. So they're kind of raised up over top of the grip, and it looks a little weird, but it doesn't look cumbersome. If that makes sense. I don't know how it will perform, but they also do have Pro style controllers sold separately.
I guarantee if I get this, I guarantee I'm getting a Pro style controller and using it for 90% of the games.
I probably will at some point. Honestly, I see myself using it slapped on to the actual little screen and using the Joy-Cons on the thing, like as just a mobile thing. That's how I see myself
for mobile.
Using it.
One of the main selling points of this console, obviously, it's called the fucking Switch, is that you can take it and make it be portable. Even though I don't go many places, still it's cool.
The battery life on that was actually pretty impressive too, because it's 2.5 hours to 6 hours depending on the game. So I assume something like Zelda is going to be closer to the 2.5 than the 6, but something like maybe Splatoon or something, not as deep. That boxing game. I don't know. It could be longer. Also, it has a little kickstand on it, so you can set it up, take the things off, and then do that. Which is something that if you want to do it at your desk or something, that's cool. I can't imagine people will do that on the bus, like on their commute. But it has some variability because different situations. Like I could see a lot of people. I remember when I was in college, they had those communal tables. And, there's like the rec area with the pool table, and then just different places. I could see people playing that like in between classes and doing that sort of thing and sharing. It seems like a very social machine, which is kind of cool. But they're like going way overboard, and they're like, it'll be an icebreaker at parties. No, I'm not gonna get my dick sucked because I got a fucking Nintendo Switch. Like, let's be real.
That'd be a good marketing campaign. Get a Nintendo Switch. We guarantee you'll get your dick sucked in the first 6 months or your money back.
Oh, yeah. That'd be worth it. I'd buy the peripherals, too, then. Wow, that actually... why don't you just get a hooker? They're cheaper.
Fair. I just remembered something, by the way, too.
Okay.
As far as the online services go, this is, again, indicating that Nintendo is going completely the wrong direction and are charging for an internet service when they don't even fucking know how to make one work. So, you know how on Microsoft or on Sony systems you can do a voice chat and you have a headset? That's not my thing, but for stuff like COD and people who play with their friends, It's integral, right? You need the voice chat. You get a little headset, you get your Turtle Beach, whatever. Okay.
They have proprietary headsets.
Jake, if you were a Nintendo and you were trying to build a system, and voice chat for this kind of thing has been around for years. Like, Xbox 360 had this shit. Maybe the first Xbox did, but I don't know.
The first Xbox did, but they were shitty.
Okay. So it's been around for years. This isn't hard to do. How do you get your players to communicate with each other?
Headsets.
How about this instead? How about we develop an app for your smartphone that you have to download, put on your phone, and then the voice chat doesn't go through a headset, it goes through your phone.
Then use Discord for free.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why am I paying you for one thing, it is because you have to pay them so you can, like, play Mario Kart or whatever. But you can't even facilitate voice chat through something other than Wi-Fi and my smartphone. You couldn't invent a fucking headset or even allow third-party headsets. I'll download Skype and I'll talk to my friends, you idiots.
Right. Like, I use Discord most days, anytime I play video games, and I have it on here. Fantastic service, absolutely free. You can set up your own servers, you can password protect it, you can invite and de-invite whoever you want. You can have different groups, so I can have, we can all be on the same thing, so we can all talk in the general chat, and then we can have 5 players playing this game and they can all hear each other, and 5 players playing this game and they can all hear each other, but it doesn't cross over unless you want it to. Like,
Sure.
it's super convenient. It's not like it's more convenient than a Skype, and it's super free. And like, if people have these alternatives, why are you doing this? Just let them put, like, honestly, if I could play, like, I don't know, say there's like a co-op version of the Mario game that's coming out where one of us can play Luigi and one of us plays Mario. Sure. If I could just pop a headset into the bottom of that little jack there, and we can play while I'm, like, you know, just sitting around, that'd be fun. That'd be a good time.
Right.
But
which is how every other system in the goddamn world works. But
I'm not calling you on the phone, though. Let's be real. I'm not calling you on the phone because I had to pee Luigi.
It's this kind of cumbersome stuff that holds Nintendo back, though. I genuinely, in their R&D departments, I don't understand how they were talking about voice chat, and someone in the room said, how about we just do it through people's cell phones? Everyone has a cell phone. And everyone went, yeah, that's the simplest solution. Now, if it were this and also a headset,
sure,
that kind of makes sense because they're trying to appeal to a broad audience, especially people with kids, because they don't necessarily want to buy their kids a $100 Turtle Beach headset or whatever. I understand. But that's not what they said. They literally make it sound like the only way to communicate with each other is through their app on the phone. And if that's not the case, then the problem isn't in R&D, it's with fucking marketing, because they did not explain that very well.
Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents on that.
Okay. We need to press on a little bit past this.
Sorry, it's just that's emblematic of my problems with Nintendo, to be totally honest.
So is this.
Okay, go ahead.
The Joy-Cons themselves, they spent about 25 minutes on just the controllers and how they're the new gimmick. Now, I will give Nintendo credit where it is due. These little fuckers look slick as shit. Like, they look very comfortable, especially when set up on the little handlebars or on the screen itself. But even the little ones, if you put the strap on it, it actually extends it, makes it more like a Super Nintendo or a Nintendo-sized controller. If not, they still have shoulder buttons, but it's just a little thinner, so it seems like it would feel a little small. But like the variability in those controllers, it's a very good design. It doesn't look like there's much wasted space inside there, but they do this weird thing where it's also a Wiimote. So it has, like, I think the right one, I could be wrong, has the little IR thing, and it could judge the 1, 2, 3. If you do rock, paper, scissors, it could judge the distance or whatever is what they showed. But they also have this thing they called 3D Rumble, which means that, like, I didn't understand this really, because I feel like I'm gonna have to experience it. But and I'll let you chime in just a second. He held the thing up, and he's like, okay, so you can feel it if there's just one ice cube in here. And like he showed a glass of water here, and he was like shaking his hand, and he said he could feel that there was an ice cube in the imaginary glass of water that he was holding because of the way this rumbles. And they're like, well, what if we put 2 ice cubes? I could feel that, and 3, and then the water, he could feel that. But I feel like without the weight of the things, because you can't add weight to a thing, it wouldn't feel like it was actually any different. But I guess I just don't understand how good the rumble is or how gimmicky it is unless I feel it myself. And they just the whole presentation of the Joy-Cons was just the gimmicky parts of it. Like, they were like, oh, we could do this, and we could do a quick draw thing. Like, that's not a lot of good technology. We could do that with the fucking Super Scope.
The HD Rumble. I think this is a neat idea. This is something called haptics, and it's been around in development for a while. There have been some very expensive peripherals that have worked with it, and essentially it, using very complicated technology that I guarantee I will never understand, simulates feelings of different sensations. For instance, I watched some videos on there, you know, that 3-2 switch thing, that game they showed, which we'll talk about when we talk about games. If you go to their website, they actually have some more demo videos, and one of them is called Milk, and what it is,
I did see that. You can milk the cow.
Right. You can milk the cow, and you squeeze the controllers in such a way, like if you've ever seen someone milk a cow, you know, you don't just tug, you go from the top to the bottom and you squeeze it out, you know. And they're doing that, but also the people in the demo, although they are actors, have a look on their face kind of like, ooh, this feels weird. So I think the idea is a lot of these demos are going to use the haptic feedback HD rumble, and it's supposed to feel like you are squeezing something. You're getting kind of resistance out of it. Now, I don't know if this actually works, but I think this is the idea they're going for with these demos.
So do the buttons give back tension?
I don't know. Until I play it, I don't know.
Again, yeah, it's so hard to like sell that to me without me being able to touch it. And I know they're doing demos around the country, around the world right now, today. But it's, I don't know. Like it's a thing that I'm going to have to get back to you on if I get this, because
it's a little bit like really good VR. It's hard to explain to someone why it works.
Well, and that's actually when they showed that, I thought, if this is working how they say it does, 5 years from now, when that's really good, and you have like gloves that you play with, and not like a power glove like they tried before, but like think of a 3D shooter. Like, you want to be able to articulate your hands where they're at in the world, and your fingers so that you can interact with different shit. And basically, that's what you need. If you get haptic response on those, and you could feel pressure, and you could feel like the weight of things. I don't know how you'd simulate the weight of things necessarily, unless it was like like a tension cord thing, but that would be really fucking cumbersome. So I don't know. But I feel like if I can feel like tactilely in the world, like if I pick up a stone in a world, I can feel it in my hand. So it's not like a clipping issue where I'm trying to get used to the distance in draw of things. I can just feel it. Like, I can feel the gun. I can feel whatever, the steering wheel of a car. If I can feel that, that's cool, and very complicated. But I feel like that's kind of in what they're indicating that could happen with the stuff in the future. Now, Nintendo will never get there, but someone else could use that technology and get there. And I thought that was actually super interesting. I don't know. The strap things, like, they're still Wiimotes, kind of like, hey, 7 Wii fans in the world, we're still with you.
That's what bugs me. Essentially what they did for this system, and I told Jake this early, it looks like they strapped 2 Wiimotes to a Wii U controller screen, and that was their idea. Honestly, this is what the Wii U should have been. This should have just been, this should have been Wii 2, and they should have just marketed it as such.
I like this name better, honestly. Nintendo Switch, I like it way better.
Yeah. So, we've talked about this before when the trailer came out. I'm down with the Wii. I enjoyed the Wii. I owned a Wii. The Wii had fucking awesome stuff when it had awesome stuff.
It had some cool stuff.
Didn't have a lot of third-party
the gimmicks worked a little bit.
Right. But a lot of the stuff, the third-party support was mostly shovelware mini-game collections that were $10 in the clearance bin for people to buy and your grandparents to buy, because whatever. But the thing is, it did have some good stuff. The Mario Galaxy games, the Zelda games, they did the remaster of Wind Waker. That was good. Metroid Prime, I want to say it was 3. That was really fun. You know, they have a plethora of games, but the Wii U lacked that, and that was a big issue, is it lacked a lot of really solid third-party titles.
Rayman.
Don't worry, Rayman is going to be on this as well. They're coming to the Switch.
Oh, so. Good.
But I'm down with the Wiimote thing. I like the motion control. It can be fun when it works. Wii Sports is a lot of fun. Everyone likes Wii Sports. Your parents probably like Wii Sports, whoever you are.
They showed one game. We're going to transition into games, though, because this conversation necessitates it. That game they showed called ARMS, it was Wii Boxing. You texted me this while we were watching this. Wow, that's just Wii Boxing. And it kind of is, but it's like super mobile Wii Boxing. But I feel like it looked really responsive. And it looked like it felt good, and especially, again, if you get that rumble response correctly, that could be a very successful use of the Wiimote style. But the thing is, if you want to play with that in your room with somebody, it's $100 because you need to buy the extra controller and the straps.
Right. So I understand. I guarantee the people at Nintendo are just every day they sit there and they think, man, wasn't when we had the Wii and we were like the #1 selling console great? And they keep trying to recapture that, but you're never going to exactly recapture. The Wii was a fucking lightning in a bottle. You had the exact right technology at the right time, and they collided, and you had a huge hit. You know how many people probably bought a Wii and are in their 50s and 60s and only played Wii Sports? a decent amount. I guarantee it.
And by the way, Wii Sports is still fun.
It's a fun game. But the thing is, those people are now doing Facebook games and mobile games, and they're playing fucking Candy Crush on their iPads. Those people aren't coming back, Nintendo. They're just not. They're gone.
Okay, and now this is the part of the Nintendo Switch conversation that makes me a little hopeful. And this is some of the games they showed. And now they showed the gimmick games, and I was groaning. But then they showed the Mario game, which was Mario Odyssey, which looked really cool.
Yes.
And it was kind of like, it started out, he was in New York.
Excuse me,
but
Jake,
it kind of shows that he's going around. What?
It's not New York City. It's New Donk City.
What the fuck ever. It's a city that looks like New York. And it looks fun, but it also looks like, say what you will about the casualness of Nintendo games, Super Mario 64 is not for the casual. Like that's a game you sit down and you play and you complete. It's not short. It's got depth to it for a Mario game, of course. It's got a lot to explore. There's a lot of secrets. There's all the stars and all this shit. That's a gamer's game. This looks like a gamer's game.
I don't think anyone is like when people say Nintendo is super casual, they're not talking about Mario. You don't have to be super gritty, sepia tone Call of Duty to be considered a gamer game.
No, I know, but they're also and this is one of the worst ports. But they're doing Skyrim, I don't want to play Skyrim on this. I'm not going to play Skyrim. I'm not going to buy it again. But the thing it does show me is that we're going to have a real fucking game on a system that Nintendo made. Okay, I can get behind the fact that you're putting a real game on here. I don't necessarily like that it's Skyrim Special Edition, which came out in, 2009? Is it not Special Edition? It's the standard unmodded edition. It came out in 2009. But at least it's a game. Whatever.
2011.
Who cares?
6-year-old game.
Doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. But the game that everyone should be excited about is Zelda Breath of the Wild. It looks like the most perfect fucking Zelda game ever. It looks amazing. I was reading on Twitter, people were like crying and tearing up. I don't have that kind of reaction to games, so I don't get it. But people were really excited, and I'm fucking excited, and I haven't played a Zelda game since Nintendo 64.
Wow, really? You didn't play Wind Waker? Wind Waker's fucking great.
I'm not gonna get the fucking systems for these things. Like
Twilight. You didn't play Twilight Princess?
No.
That was really fucking fun.
No.
Oh god, those are really good.
I know they're good. I watched them be played. Like I have friends that had those games, but I didn't own the Nintendo systems.
Yeah, I didn't get to play Skyward Sword because that was Wii U, and I didn't touch that one. But yes, I agree. It looks good. They also had some JRPG stuff, which I'm not into.
Xenoblade looks good. I like Dragon Warrior. If they do a Monster Hunter game, they're doing Pikmin World, which I don't know what that's necessarily about, but Pikmin was fun as shit. They're doing some other stuff. I'm trying to remember the games here. Do you have a list of the games? Just go down the list of the games real quick.
This is just an infographic from Nintendo. Mm-hmm. It's not every game, but these are the ones that were officially kind of announced last night. There might be more, but here's what we have right now. The things that are coming out on launch day, which we should mention is March 3rd, by the way. Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is, I'm glad that's a launch title because they need it, because everything else that's coming out that day is blah. 1-2 Switch, which looks, it's their Wii Sports. We didn't mention this. This is ridiculous. 1-2 Switch, which is that gimmicky mini game thing.
I really
using
thought
the
that
haptic feedback.
Really thought that was going to be in the box.
Everyone thought it was going to be in the box, but even when I found out it wasn't going to be in the box, I'm like, okay, so maybe it's like a $20 little tech demo party game collection. No, it's a $50 game.
I'm not buying that. How much is Zelda? Is it 50 or 60?
60. So they're which almost makes me madder because clearly in the organization Nintendo recognized that 1-2 Switch is not a full game, but instead of being like, oh, $20, $30, they're like, knock $10 off. Like, are you guys kidding me? They're pushing it with the pricing.
Don't worry, 1-2 Switch will be in the bargain bin in Walmart in a year, so don't.
Oh, not even. But anyway, other things coming out. The third, Super Bomberman, Skylanders, which is that game with the figures, which I'm not.
Super Bomberman. They showed some footage of it on very briefly on the trailers, and those it looked fun. It was again more of a multiplayer game.
Yeah, and then Just Dance. Now, bear in mind. There could be more, but we're only like 2 months out from release. So if you're a third-party developer, I can't imagine you waited till now to say, hey, we're making a game for this that's going to be out on launch day. On launch day right now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There might be a couple more, but like 5 titles on launch. So you go buy this day one, and let's say you're similar to Jake and I. All you're playing is Zelda.
Mm-hmm. Now
you have nothing else.
Now, coming out in the future, I'm reading there's games like Yooka-Laylee, which was the Banjo-Kazooie, call it a spin-off. It's the same company. Project Sonic 2017, which could be garbage, but it looks like they're going back to the Sonic Adventure roots, like the first one. So I wouldn't hate that. Kingdom Hearts 3, Dragon Quest 11 and 10, and Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2, which I guess have a ton of critical reception. Stardew Valley, which is cool. I'm trying to see the other one. Some Lego games. Oh, they definitely have Minecraft. There's I'm trying to think of the other IPs. You can assume you're gonna get a Smash game, which will be cool as shit. Although I'm not a big fan of those necessarily, but a lot of people are. So I'm sure it'll be like, as far as Smash games are concerned, it should be pretty damn good. Especially with the way this system seems to be set up. You can probably count on a Metroid game. The Mario games are going to be cool. Mario Kart is coming out for sure. Obviously, we saw stuff with that. That's going to be a good time. I assume we're going to get at least 2 Zelda games, because Breath of the Wild is going to break records. People are so excited about this game.
Yeah. Well, okay. Here's the thing. Nintendo's coming out at a weird time with some of these games, and I think that's going to be to their detriment. Okay, the only game on launch that's people want, like, badly. I'm sure there's someone out there who can't wait for fucking Just Dance. But right now, Zelda is their killer app the day of release. But here's the thing, it's also coming out for the Wii U. So if you're a huge Nintendo fanboy, you might already own a Wii U. Now, that's not everyone, but enough people own it that it's going to cut into the people who are buying day one for the Switch. Now, the next big game that comes out is in April, a month later, and it's Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is just a remaster of a game for the Wii U. So again, if you already have a Wii U, you still have no reason to come on board yet. Then the next, again, I'm trying to go bigger games.
Is
the
it
next
Splatoon?
big game, Splatoon, which comes out in summer, Splatoon 2, and I've heard Splatoon's great. I don't think I'd like it, but I recognize, like, oh, it looks like a fun little multiplayer thing. So summer is when Splatoon 2 comes out. If you're not a fan of that, you still have no reason to get the system. Yeah. And then autumn, Elder Scrolls 5 comes out, but here's the thing, that's been out for 6 years. You probably already own it if you want to play it. And then finally, the game that will maybe finally get me to get one is Holidays 2017. Super Mario Odyssey comes out, and at that point I'd pick that and Zelda up, and if there are any ones that happen to be good in between. But there aren't really many big games, and even third-party developers, this was an issue with the Wii, this was an issue with the Wii U. Graphics aren't what makes a game, but when your system is so far behind, it makes it hard to port things from other systems. You're always going to be lacking third-party support. And as good as first-party Nintendo games are, and they are great,
right,
you can't have a system with only good games developed by, or I should say the majority of good games, developed by the company that made the system itself. You can't have an ecosystem like that. It doesn't work.
Part of the PlayStation v Xbox thing is, what are the exclusives? If you add Nintendo to that mix and say, okay, they can have these third parties, but also they're Nintendo exclusives, Nintendo probably gets my business 9 times out of 10.
Probably.
Because I love Nintendo games. The original Nintendo games are always good. I've never picked up a Mario game and thought, wow, this is just shit. I'm sure they exist, but I haven't. It's just
Mario's Time Machine is pretty bad.
I'm not aware of that.
We played it together. We played it briefly
Did
on an
we?
emulator. It's an educational game.
Oh, those are that doesn't count though. They also have stuff like FIFA's coming out, so EA Sports is on board with Nintendo.
But, hold on, real
NBA
quick.
2K18, hold on one second. And Street Fighter Ultra 2!
All the games you just mentioned, they're like undated too, so we don't know. I assume some of those might get pushed back. Some might get canceled if they
NBA 2K18 is dated. It's 2K18.
A lot of the okay, here's the thing.
It'll come out in August of 2018. That's how the basketball games work.
Steep is coming out also, which I heard it's Ubisoft's recent, I want to say snowboarding, but there's also like base jumping, and it's basically any extreme sport you can do on a snowy mountain game, which actually looks pretty fun. But it's also up for PC, so I might just get it for that. And then Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 is coming out. If you like Dragon Ball, those are fun. I don't really like Dragon Ball, but my girlfriend does. It's actually a really fun fighting game. It's very... I don't know how to explain it. It's Dragon Ball. You fly around, you punch people. It's a fun little arcadey thing. But again, these are games you can play for the most part on other systems already. So again, when you're looking at this strictly as who is the system for? Because when you're talking about marketing, it's important to say, who are we selling this to? Otherwise, you don't know how to sell it. For instance, you would sell something for a 60-year-old different than you would a 20-year-old, a man different than a woman probably, children different than teens, and so forth. So I don't understand who this is for, because for kids, I mean, sure, they like a lot of games, but are like 8-year-olds super excited about Zelda? I mean, to an extent, but probably not as much as people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s who have played the other ones. An 8-year-old might think Zelda looks cool, but they don't have any knowledge of it necessarily, at least not of the earlier games.
I mean,
they have Skylanders.
They have less than 24 games shown on their official Nintendo page. I'm going through it right now. I don't know what Has Been Heroes is.
I
it
saw
looks
that
like
too.
you know what it does? It looks like a Darkest Dungeons ripoff. Honestly, I'm gonna show you right there. It looks just like it. It's like this, even the map for the dungeon and the way that they're set up. So that's what we have to look forward to for the first year. Now, don't get me wrong. Again, if they come out with titles, this is going to be a fine console, I think. I think this is going to do just fine. But the first fucking few months, they look trash.
They do, for the most part. And here's the thing, too. Bear in mind, just for a comparison, the PlayStation 4, when it came out, it had about 24 games. And some of those were big titles. There were stuff like, what was it? Hold on, I had a list somewhere. Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty, Battlefield, FIFA, Madden, NBA, 2K. They had like a bunch of games that people really wanted to play. For Nintendo, they're banking on, we're the Zelda, Mario, Metroid people. You're gonna buy our shit. And that's true to an extent. Again, like I said, I'm not against buying this, but I'm also not gonna run out and just grab it for brand loyalty. I'm not a fanboy like that for anyone, for that matter. So the people I can see this working for are people who have kids who aren't afraid they're gonna break the system because the replacement stuff is very expensive. Although they might not know it at the time. Maybe it's a scam. Maybe Nintendo was banking on kids breaking shit and parents having to replace it. If you have kids and you want them to have a system and you don't mind spending a little extra rather than just getting them a 3DS, because if they're young enough, they don't know the difference. They don't give a fuck. Or if you're an adult person who has a PC and you play like your serious PC games on there, your stuff that's on all the other systems that's already on PlayStation and Xbox, but you'd rather play it on PC, and you want something tertiary to play couch co-op games like Mario Kart, like Smash Brothers, like whatever, then you'll get a Switch. But I do not see people who already have a PlayStation and Xbox getting this as a secondary system. It's not worth it. And the same thing happened with the Wii U. So I'm worried for Nintendo. I really am. And we talked about this before. If Nintendo keeps failing in hardware, they're going to have to just become a company that deals with their IPs and makes games, which I wouldn't mind. I'd love to play Mario on my PlayStation or whatever. But I'm not. Here's the thing, too. I'm not even saying get totally out of the hardware market. The 3DS and the DS in general, that whole line, super great portable handheld. Super great. Continue making handhelds. That's your biggest seller in Japan anyway.
Yeah.
So just continue to do that. But when it comes to consoles, if this fails, I'm not saying it definitely will, go ahead and just start making games for other systems.
Honestly, it's gonna depend on the titles and the price drops for the peripherals. Like, honestly, if it had 3 more launch titles that I was looking forward to, like a Mario, Metroid, a Pokemon game, because it's portable, but I could also play on the TV, that would be impressive. And then just the peripherals being comparable to the fucking, Xbox and PlayStation. Like, give me I'll pay $70 for the Joy-Con, a mount for the Joy-Con, and the straps. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like, give me comparable stuff. But when you're more expensive, have less games, and are a lower definition and lower quality games as far as the graphical settings and intensity that you can put into it, it's hard for me to justify, okay, I'm going to buy this over something else.
Sure. What they need, it's the fact they're coming in mid-console generation is not good for them either. What I think they should have done is either they needed to speed this up and have this come out at the same time as the PlayStation and the Xbox. They've positioned themselves in a weird time frame. I think the same thing happened with the Wii U, where it came out in the middle of something. I don't exactly remember. They either needed to have this come out at the same time as the Xbox and the PlayStation 4, so it felt more comparable as far as, yeah, there's not a lot of games for anything yet, but let's wait and see.
Right, exactly.
Or they needed to delay this a year to 2018, early 2018, and then you have your Zelda, your Mario, maybe a couple of
holidays
games.
This year would be just fine too.
Sure, I don't know what they're thinking. Basically, to me, this feels like an early access console. It feels like they're saying,
it really does.
nothing. This isn't going to work for anything, and it's probably going to sit in your shelf for the most part, and it's going to be kind of buggy up until the end of the year. But you can buy it now and play Zelda.
Do they ship buggy things? I mean, now that they partner with Bethesda, it might carry over, but
I don't know. And also when we were talking about the online service, this plays into it too. Did I mention that for the first half of the year it's free?
It is free until the summer.
But that's also what I'm thinking. I'm not going to get it day one. People who buy it day one are basically early access beta testers.
Yeah, no shit.
They're testing the system. They're testing the online for Nintendo to see what happens, and then at the end of the year, they're going to be like, okay, now it's real. Start the marketing so old people buy their stupid fucking kids the thing.
Oh, by the way, real quick, the cartridges are about the size of a cap. They're really small. It's a little bit longer, and that's super impressive to me. The 3DS, and just that you can have a AAA title on something like that now. Super cool because of the technology involved with the
switch to cartridges from discs is actually an interesting one too. I like that idea because it's solid state memory.
Well, cartridges are probably the future.
Apparently, they're supposed to be other than the initial startup, games aren't supposed to have loading screens, which is cool. And now that I'm thinking about it, I guess I have a DS, and that's similar. I don't think I've seen loading screens.
Yeah, I run two solid states on my PC for that exact reason. And I thought that was interesting. Right. But
fewer moving parts, because obviously the disk drive is a moving part.
Right.
Fewer points of breakage for the system. It's a good idea. I do like
slimming.
That.
Just slimming, and there's not as much heat because you have a laser in there.
I wouldn't mind if other people followed suit.
I think they will. I think they will.
Solid state memory is getting cheaper.
I think it's headed that way. But so here's what you got to do. After this holiday season, in 2018, you have to hit it with a price drop, or you're going to fail. I know your sales are going to be great, probably in the holiday season especially. You're going to have good launch and a good December, or in November. Everything else in the middle is going to be abysmal. What you need to do for the holiday season is you need to drop 3 or 4 games on us. And you need to drop them real hard. You need to build that shit up. And, there's a confirmed Super Mario RPG happening again. So that's a thing that you can look forward to. Again, I guess stuff like Pikmin, but none of that's on their official site. I think most of that was taken from a snapshot of a piece of paper, or just some other leaks. But you have to do that. But you also have to drop the prices of the peripherals. You have to really consider how your internet marketplace is going to be, because people are used to PlayStation, people are used to Xbox, and people are used to Steam. And the Wii marketplace was just shit. And just saying, okay, you can buy your 14th copy of Super Mario World. Yeah, thanks a lot, but I would rather get these in bundles and shit. And I understand that that's not you're not going to chip away everyone's money in the whole world, but you'll sell more overall, I think, in the end, especially in the Americas. And what you really got to do, really got to do is stay away from the gimmick games, man. You can have your gimmick games, and that's fine, but go for the reason people want Nintendos is for the games that don't have the gimmicks. They play like every other game. A lot of platformers, a lot of puzzles, a lot of great characters, just in really tight, solid gameplay and cool worlds. That's what we want. I don't want ARMS and Splatoon games up my ass forever.
I honestly, I don't understand what their mindset is. Nintendo's always been about gimmicks. I mean, obviously, just look back. They had so many peripherals and stuff. The goddamn Rob the Robot came with the original NES, but only 2 games ever came out for it. No one gives a shit about Rob other than, haha, wasn't that a funny thing that was stupid and didn't work right? The Blaster, they had like a couple games that worked with it. I get it. That's kind of fun, but it wasn't a selling point necessarily. It was, oh, let me play Duck Hunt. Let me play a couple other shooting games. Fine. Super Scope. People didn't like the Super Scope. It took a ton of fucking batteries and didn't work right. Power Pad. Dumb as shit.
Power Glove.
Power Glove.
Oh, the Power Glove is a meme.
Yeah. The what was it? It was the red Virtual Boy. Virtual Boy had like 13 games. All red, looked like crap. Nintendo succeeds when they just make a box that plays good games. Think about it.
Every time.
NES worked because it had a huge library, because it was a system that worked and it had fun games.
Super Nintendo was the same way. But Super Nintendo had a bunch of third-party games.
Sure. N64, they did some innovation, but it wasn't crazy. They invented the Rumble. They mentioned it in the show. Like, we invented the Rumble. Like, yeah, okay, fine. That was cool, but that wasn't like, buy the N64, it rumbles. Like, it was like, right. Oh no, look, it's 3D. And that wasn't a gimmick. It was, this is where technology is going. Look, we can do 3D graphics
Super Mario
now.
64 was like set apart forever, for a long time.
Even the GameCube was pretty good. It was, I don't remember, I think it was comparable to the other systems at the time. It still did pretty well. I don't think it did quite as well as
I never considered the GameCube inferior. They just had those tiny discs. They were trying to be different, and it had a handle on it.
Again, that was part of their issue too, is because they wanted the GameCube to be portable, so they made it a little bit smaller, so it had to use.
But it had 4 ports on the front of it, like the N64, and people would party game the fuck out of those, and that was fun.
Right, but that was still a popular system, and it still had a lot of third-party support because it was relatively on par with the other systems at the time. It had some shortcomings, especially because there was the mini discs. They couldn't fit quite as much, so if it was a really long game, it might not be able to be ported correctly. But still, same idea. It was comparable. Then they came out with the Wii. This was the first time, I don't know, someone's probably going to point out they did this another time. This was the time when the selling point of the system was, look at the gimmick. In the commercials, don't look at the screen, look at the silly people doing the silly thing with the silly thing we made.
The Wii is, while it was successful, that's the point where Nintendo lost me.
Yeah. And I had a Wii, and like I said, there's a lot of fun games for it, but it doesn't work. When it works, it doesn't work because of the gimmick, it works because it had good games. The best games for that system didn't use the motion control all that much. Mario Galaxy, all you did was you had one move where you shook the controller and you twirled, but that easily could have been a button press.
Right.
And you could pick up stars or whatever by pointing at the screen, but I don't give a fuck. Metroid Prime, you aimed by pointing at the screen, but again, that could have easily been a control stick. That wasn't what made it work.
The only thing I liked from that really was the sports. There's the Wii Sports that was the basic one, and then there's the I don't remember what it was called, but it had
Wii Sports Resort.
Yeah, the Sports Resort. That was also fun. And those are the only 2 gimmick games that I can recall genuinely enjoying.
Sure,
because it wasn't 1-to-1 reaction with the Wiimote. That was the real problem. You're using this IR sensor, so you got to be at the screen and doing this. But when I have a sword, I'm like, like doing this kind of. It's I don't know. If they could pull this off, though, I'm back.
Maybe, but here's the thing too. The Game Boy worked because it had a long battery life, and there were stuff like the Sega Lynx that were in color. The games looked better, but it died really quick.
The Sonic on the Sega was a Game Gear.
Yeah.
That always looked cooler to me, but the Game Boy worked better.
Sure. And then the DS, again, they had the touchscreen, but even now with the 3DS, which again, no one cares about the stupid fucking 3D gimmick. I turn the 3D off all the time. It's just annoying. But I also don't want a 2DS because I want it to close, so that's dumb. But again, and then with the Wii U. Oh, look, it's a touchscreen, and it's a separate... No, Nintendo,
everything's
stop.
A touchscreen.
Like
our phones are touchscreens, and we don't even think about it.
make a goddamn box that plays Mario games and also can play games other people make. And if you want to do some peripherals and stuff, do that. You did that with NES, you did that with Super Nintendo. You had tons of gimmicky shit, but that wasn't the point. You're focusing too much on that shit. Like, half of the presentation was that. It's ridiculous. And even as far as the gimmicks go, they're making dumb decisions. That 3-2 switch thing, like I said, isn't included in the box. And that's your gimmicky party game thing. Like, here, take this to a party, show people. It needs to be in the box with the system then. You know why everyone's mom and dad wanted a fucking Wii? Because when they came over to your house, you'd be like, oh, look at Wii Sports, this game I might not have bought otherwise, but it came with the thing, and it's a cool little tech demo.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, that's cool. And then they went home or went to the store and bought themselves a Wii and blah, 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 blah. Stop. Nintendo's getting... I don't even know how to voice my frustration anymore because they continue to make mistakes. They continue to overprice certain things to take... I don't know if it's malicious or they're genuinely just out of touch of how ridiculous it is. And you can say all day, oh, the controller's so expensive because all the technology in it. Yeah. But they didn't have to make it that way. They could have just made a normal controller and had it be like $40.
Right,
like,
I don't know. But all that said, I kind of want one. Like, it's cool. And because Nintendo games itself are cool, and if all I got were Nintendo IPs on this console, I would play it for several years. So I'm still considering it, but the thing is, I'm not considering it for the kids. I'm not considering it a family console. I'm considering it my personal thing, and I think that's not what they're going for. They marketed it as something I would never use it for, and that's really the flaw here. I think it falls on deaf ears when Nintendo says, "Yeah, but look, we do well in Japan." But you're not just selling to Japan. You could sell this kind of shit to Japan. And then know your market elsewhere, and just make the you could even make the American appeal stuff just a separate sort of, a separate setup where you give us the Pro style controller instead of the dock for the thing, and then we're good to go. And it's not this clusterfuck. The straps and the different color schemes and the lack of a bundle with the game, and like, how is this a thing? It seems poorly thought out, but again, the core of it, just the screen with the things on the side and a Zelda game in front of me, that sounds awesome.
I pretty much agree, but unlike you, I don't necessarily want to say yet, I want it. I want to want it.
I said I kind of want it.
The things that are good look great.
Yeah.
Zelda, Mario, their bread and butter is great. It's all the other shit they put on the sandwich that doesn't work.
Right.
And I'm very worried about that. So we'll see. There are some positives. Again, it's a one step forward, two steps back kind of thing. All the games are region free. That's great. I wish more companies would do that.
Region lock. That was a big deal to me.
Yeah. Some games might not come out in your region or whatever for whatever reason. Maybe you're a big fan of JRPGs, but they don't all come out here. You can order them online from Japan and you can have them, and that's cool. I even though I'm not a fan of JRPGs, I can appreciate that as a selling point. I don't know. This is very much a wait and see for me. Unless something happens and I just happen to have an extra money lying around, which I might, and I have a stupid day. You ever just have a stupid day where you're like, I'll do something stupid?
Oh, yeah. Most days.
But here's the thing. The fact that I'm describing the Switch as a stupid impulse buy is not what Nintendo should want people to be saying about it.
I know. But I mean, stuff like Xenoblade 2, Fire Emblem, these are games that like real gamers want to play. And it's just, I don't know, man. It's so close to being something I'm totally hyped for, and also something I'm so close to just wanting to pan relentlessly until its demise. It's
somewhere between the Wii, which I have a lot of great things to say about. It has its flaws, but the Wii, for what it was, it knew what it wanted to be, and it was that thing, and it was successful at it. The Wii U, on the other hand, didn't quite know what it wanted to be, was coming off the tails of the Wii, wanted its own gimmick, didn't know what to do, lost focus, lost third-party support, and shit the bed.
I will say that this seems to have a clear,
right,
clear design focus.
Yes, I think they have a better philosophy for this system.
Yeah.
I think company-wide, they sat down and they said, okay, the Wii U didn't work. We need a clear design philosophy, and they've stuck with it. I think that's why the Switch is somewhere between, for right now, for me, it's between the Wii U and the Wii. I don't know which directions it's going to go. It's really going to, a lot of it is going to depend on third-party support, which Nintendo has, I guess, at least since after GameCube, they haven't been good at.
It's combining all the best parts of Nintendo and all the worst.
Yeah.
And it's like the Nintendo Switch is like the peak of the mountain. And once we reach the peak is when you can see whether there's another higher peak in the distance or just a fucking sheer drop. And I hope it's a peak. I hope there's another peak, because we keep saying that. And part of the reason that we're painting it so much right now is because we fucking love Nintendo. We love it. We love the memories of it. We love the games that they have, and we keep mentioning the games because the games are the core part. I like just the feel of a Nintendo 64 controller or the Super Nintendo or a Game Boy. And I feel like maybe that's part of my connection to this system is it feels like a nostalgia bomb because it's got the Game Boy feel. It's got the 64 feel. It's got all the things and it's modernized, and it's got these cool games coming out that look fun. But it's also got this Wii U thing. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm going over and over this. Maybe I'm just trying to talk myself out of suicide at this point, I think. So, anyways, as far as the presentation is concerned, I'm giving it a passing grade speculatively, but it's like a C. And I'm gonna wait for some reviews. I might buy it at the end of March if it gets good reviews, and if it gets bad reviews, at best, I'm buying it in 2018.
That's probably about where I sit, too.
Yeah.
The presentation itself, as far as the content, yeah, if you want to see some grade A, just weird, cringe Japanese...
Why are Japanese people, super weird?
It's not just that, though. If you watch E3 presentations, Ubisoft's is always the fucking worst as far as cringe is concerned. The only good E3 presentation Bethesda. I think I've ever seen was Bethesda, because they weren't being marketing... bullshit. Let's get in touch with the youths. It was Todd Howard. He'd come out and be like, hey, I really enjoy making this game. Here's this fucking game. Let's talk about it.
But what he didn't tell you is that it was buggy as fuck. And they weren't going to really support mods. And they've stripped it of its RPG elements unless you have it on PC and go to Nexus mods.
Anyway, so I think that's all we really have to say about the Switch for right now. I'm curious what you guys think, because I mean this is just our opinions.
Right. I know. Okay, if you're a fanboy, don't do the fanboy. You're just a hater thing, because we're not haters, because we genuinely love Nintendo. So what I want you to do is actually just respond to the criticism instead of just being like, you just fuck console PC fucker. No, I want to play all the games that you want to play on Nintendo. Most likely, I want to play all of them. I just don't want the system to be a gimmick, and just the price points are ridiculous. I feel like they're ridiculous. So I want to love this. It's not me, it's you.
We'll see. I don't know. I'm curious. Right now,
dude, if they get a Pokemon game though, I might not be able to help myself. I'm just saying.
Oh, dude, an actual really good Pokemon. Fuck. The last 3D console Pokemon game I played was Pokemon Coliseum, and that was pretty fun.
Yeah, man.
Did you play that?
Yeah, dude. I played Coliseum. Pokemon Snap was my shit too.
No, do you mean Stadium? There's Stadium and there's Coliseum.
Oh, I don't. Maybe Coliseum. It was Stadium.
I think you played Stadium. I played Coliseum, which was kind of a successor to that. That was fun. I don't know. Something like that would be cool. But Anyway, I think that's it. I really hope the best for Nintendo, for their IPs, because when they're creative, when they want to make a great game with beautiful aesthetics, whether it be cartoony or epic or whatever.
I'm looking forward to some genuinely good RPGs. I know that's not really your bag, but Nintendo makes the best RPGs historically. We're talking like the Final Fantasy games
they didn't make that. That's
no. Final Fantasy originally came out on the Nintendo and Super Nintendo.
Right, but they didn't make it.
Right. Chrono Triggers. There was Square, but I'm just saying like historically, I have this nostalgia of playing good RPGs on Nintendo. The Dragon Warrior and stuff like that, and it's always been a console you can count on to have this I don't know, this backbone of just really strong titles. So if they get there, then I'm in. But the Wii didn't really have that. The Wii had some cool games, but it's nothing like the Super Nintendo N64 GameCube era, like in all the way back to the regular Nintendo. Like they just had such a long run. We're just clamoring for that, and this is the first time it's felt like they could get close, and if they don't do it, it's like so over, and that sucks.
I'm curious if this goes the route of the Wii U, if sales are disappointing for whatever reason, and honestly, the reason I think they're having it come out in March is so they can pad their yearly sales numbers to make it look like holiday sales are really good.
Well, yeah, but anyway, also so they don't have to compete with anybody.
Right.
They're the only one on the market.
I'm curious if this goes the route of the Wii U, if sales are disappointing, if third-party support drops off because people realize it's just a pain to port to. What's Nintendo's next step? Do they just finally say, you know what, screw it, we'll focus on handhelds, and for consoles, we'll make games for other systems?
Dude, can you imagine the bidding war over the next Mario game? Jesus Christ. They would kill the Smash. Wow.
Right. Or I'm wondering, would they do that, or would they say, okay, we need to sit down, we need to do some genuine, real market research and maybe see where we went wrong. And I know I'm not dumb. They're a huge company. Of course they do market research. I'm just...
I feel like they're so slanted towards their Japanese customers, which makes sense. They are a Japanese company with Japanese employees and Japanese executives and Japanese producers. And they live there.
But the Americas, Europe are a bigger market for them.
It totally is, and that's kind of the point. Like, stop. Just do the thing correctly.
Like, Sony's a Japanese company, but they market and produce stuff for the international market perfectly fine. So
they make shitty movies, though.
Yeah, they do. I don't know if they're a good insurance company, because that's apparently where they make most of their profits.
Anyways, so that's it. If you just please comment down below, because I need some sort of fucking clarity. If there's some games down there that you want to see, like what's the game you look forward to the most? Because I want to get more excited. And don't say Zelda, because that's clearly number one. But like the next one on the list, I need to know these titles that are coming out confirmed, because, buddy, I need a reason to want to buy this, because I want to buy this, but I can't justify it.
Yeah. So anyway. You can always follow us on Twitter @TheRealUnpop. We don't do that. Someone else does, but they represent us, so hopefully they don't post child pornography.
You could also subscribe to the channel. Get more of this stuff. We do this weekly. Gonna have some more gameplay coming out soon. I'm gonna be alone in the house for 2 weeks because my girlfriend's going on a business trip, because she's an important person / my sugar mama.
So until next time, I'm Hugo.
I'm Jake.
And it's me, Disappointment.